Ladies and gentlemen, it is your man out of Japan, Jay Contra, and you may or may not know that Surugaya has had free shipping weekends pretty much every other week for the last 5 months. So it's like you don't even need to go to Japan anymore to get some great deals on Japanese video games. And as you can see, I have a bunch of boxes that I need to open, and I figure I'd do it on camera, where what we'll do is we'll take a look at how the games are packaged, what the condition of the games look like, and then somewhere on the screen I'll put up the prices and do a little comparison to what you might find over on eBay. This is how they packaged it. I think this is pretty standard from what I've seen from Surugaya. They've hot glued the very bottom of the package. You can see here, I think if you have any bulk orders, I think I only have one box that's got a lot of things in it. But let me take this apart and show you each game, and we'll evaluate the condition of each one of them. All right, so first up is, Link's Awakening DX. There we go. Oh, does it have the price on it anywhere? Sometimes they've got the price stickers on them just like they had come from Surugaya, but not here. I think this is probably in their big warehouse that they've got over in Shizuoka. This is, of course, the color version that you can play in the original Game Boy. The sort of the upgraded Link's Awakening. Yeah, all right, looks pretty good. Let's take a quick look on the inside. Actually, yeah, wow, this is actually in very good condition. Got the nice black cartridge there, because although I think it's for the Game... Oh, is it only for the Game Boy Color? No, it works for both the regular Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. But we've got the... Wow, yeah, man, this is like barely touched. This is in really great shape. Like, even look at that manual. Like, basically, someone, I mean, probably played this once and put it back in the box, but I'd say this would be like a Mandarake, like probably at least a B. Which, I mean, is like almost a mint. But yeah, wow, got very lucky with that. Next game up, let's look at, Lords of Shadow for the 3DS. I was, of course, a fool, and I know you can get this cheaper for the American 3DS, but I do not have an American 3DS, and I have no real desire to get an American 3DS. So I bought the Japanese version, even though it ended up being like 70 bucks. And there's a little dent there. That's not, and for a GameStop, this would have been in great condition. Another kind of dent there. I don't know how that would have happened. But it's got the little manual in it, which I guess I should be glad, even though it was the 3DS era that manuals kind of started to go away. But that cartridge does look, cartridge looks good. Just kind of, there's some, you can nitpick with this, but I think it's in pretty good shape. Next up, we've got Pokemon X, because I'm trying to buy every version of Pokemon that I can. Looks good. Actually looks in better shape than Lords of Shadow. So I think it's not just a fluke there. So there we go. That's Pokemon X. Oh, yes. And then, this is the second PlayStation 2 Castlevania game. I'm trying to remember what the English for it is called, but I have completely forgotten. Case looks good. I don't know. Is that... Yeah, no, there's something there. I don't know what that is. Something's up with that, but let's just take a quick look at the CD. Usually these are in pretty great shape. Yeah, I can't even see any scratches on it anywhere. Just gonna kind of move it around a little bit. And it's got the manual looking good. All right, next up we've got, all right, this is a little pricey. I think this ended up costing me like 50 bucks. But this is the second F-Zero game that came out for the Game Boy Advance. The third one, which I can't even remember what the name of it is like one of like the most expensigeF-Zero game out there, and I think even the one for the GameCube is only like 50 bucks, but the third one's like $300. Oh geez, but that's in really good shape. You can even see barely any edge wear on those corners, which when you are looking at boxes for the Game Boy Advance, really the only wear you should ever really see is on the edges of the box. But man, that's in really great shape. Got really lucky with that. I'm talking about condition a lot with Surugaya simply because, and look at that, it's got the original. Pretty sure that's the original plastic baggie. Yeah. Oh, man. Because when you go to Surugaya in Japan, they tend to not have great condition. Or their games tend to be kind of a little bit more roughed up than you would find, maybe even at a hard-off sometimes. You can find some real rough stuff over at Surugaya. But this is one of those sort of like barely played games. So not only do we have games in here, but I have bought manuals for games that I picked up that I say have the box and the game, and I just wanted to pick up the manuals. Here we've got Pokemon Yellow. I think this has cost me like $5 or something. And then we've got the one that I was really holding out for, and I'd love to see the condition of, is the box for Castlevania Legend, Dracula Densetsu. the first Game Boy Castlevania game, which I had a heck of a time finding. But this is something that's relatively recent to the Surugaya store. Looks pretty good, not bad. Some kind of wear here on the edges because, oh my god, someone actually opened this and used it so they could take a look at it so they could play the game. Uh-oh. I mean, that's not great because we've got the middle page kind of coming out here. And you know, this is something I'm going to have to do eventually, but you really got to check the staples on games because those things, especially for Japanese games, because of all the humidity over in Japan, will rust over real quick. But I'm glad I have it, and I'm going to go put that in the box. But before that happens, let's take a look at the last game here. It's Pokemon Sapphire for the Game Boy Advance. These used to be super cheap, but they are finally getting expensive, even though in Japan there are tons of these. And I mean, the thing about the Game Boy Advance games is that even though they weren't as popular as the first or the second gen Pokemon games, there are millions of these things out there. So it's always kind of shocked me about how expensive they are. But I think we live in an age where Game Boy Advance and GameCube games are more sought after than they were when they came out almost 20 years ago now. So we see here no original plastic baggie, but that's not a mark against it. That label's in excellent condition. And we've got the manual and another insert here. So this looks really good. I'm going to go clean this up and we're going to go to the next box. So here's the interior of the box. Packed as usual. You can kind of see they put the Famicom Disk System game at the top and the plastic games on the bottom. That's good because you don't want the weight being put on these very expensive Game Boy game boxes. But let's take the plastic off and inspect the condition. Be very careful so that we don't harm the precious video games. I guess we'll start from the bottom this time. We've got Folk Soul, which is a game that I saw on Metal Jesus' channel, and this was like $10 from Surugaya, whereas the English copy I think is getting upwards to be $60 these days, but looks to be in good shape. I mean, you generally don't need to worry about PlayStation 3 games, and I think it's especially by this era. Oh my god, is this sealed? Oh my god, is this a sealed copy of Lords of Shadow? And its seal's kind of broken. I don't know if this would count as sealed, but this is essentially a new copy. I don't know if I could send this off to VGA and get it graded. You can kind of see there's some fraying down here. I don't know if that's on purpose from Surugaya's part, or if that's just what's happened in the course of shipping or over the years that they've had it. But folks, this is a sealed copy of Lords of Shadow, which is a already very expensive game. Lords of Shadow 2. All right, next we've got, which one is this? Oh, this is Oracle of Seasons. Here we go. Yeah, I really wanted to get these in the box, especially because the American copies, I do have these in English actually, but the boxes are so freaking expensive on these games that I figure I could get the Japanese version, like get the cool art on the front, even though I think by this time, when games were getting localized, the games actually, like when you compare them, don't actually have that big of a difference between the two different versions. But we've got a very nice manual. We've even got the original plastic. Look at all these beautiful inserts that came with it. Oh, and then we've got a little advertisement for Oracle of Ages. But I've never heard of anyone being particular about the bags, but then there are people who will be very peculiar and will want something like the Hagaki, the postcard, that would sometimes come in games. That would be a little survey that you could send off to win a fantastic prize. Not that you could do it these days, although I'd love to see if someone sent off one of those to a modern video game publisher and see if they got anything. Here, let's open up, since we're talking about Oracle of Ages, let's just pop this bad boy open. Again, be careful that you don't get the tape onto the box, because then when you untape it, the ink will rip off. Box looks okay, you know, it's certainly not a Surugaya A grade or a Mandarake A grade, but we got the plastic baggie in there. I'm gonna have to end up replacing the batteries on these things. That's one thing that I'll say is one of the positives of a place like Retro Game Camp, which will actually replace the batteries on games, as opposed to, say, your Mandarake or Surugaya or Super Potato, where they will not replace the batteries on these things. So you're going to either have to do it yourself or find someone to do it for you. But at least battery replacements are pretty cheap. But overall, very pleased with this condition. Hold on. Okay, yeah, you can see a lot of wear here because someone actually played this game. Can't believe it. And so you can kind of see the edge wear here is not fantastic. This would definitely be like a D grade at Mandarake. But at least I got the box, so I'm very happy to have that. I want to save this one for last. I really want to save Simon's Quest for last. So let's just take a quick look at Detective Pikachu. We can kind of see an impact here. Little denting of the box. Not too bad, or at least the plastic. Yeah, I mean, this 3DS game's not a huge deal, especially since it's the clamshell. You can see there. Yep, cartridge looks good. Detective Pikachu actually really went up in price very recently. Pretty crazy what happened to that. Well, I think we're getting a second one eventually for the Switch, right? And then we have here new Super Luigi U. Very excited to play this. I'm actually bringing my Wii U with me because I've got a bunch of games that I've got to finish on it. And we've got some of the inserts. No manual, though, because sadly it was the Wii U era that we started to lose manuals with games, unfortunately. But there we go. The year of Luigi. We loved it, didn't we, folks? So the last thing out of this box, and I think what we'll do is the last one for this video, we've got Simon's Quest, which actually comes with the manual. So what you need to be very careful when you're buying disk system games is that if you want a complete copy, they generally come in these thin plastic cases that will house both the manual and the disc case itself. So let's open this up. There we go. And it's kind of this, it's thin plastic, but it's very hard. And then we'll take both the manual out. See, wow, actually, wow, yeah, this manual's in great shape. This is fantastic because these things, I mean, this came out in 1987. This is getting upwards of 40 years old. It's actually kind of a miracle that this thing is still playable, given the magnetism of these discs. But what you'll often see, and what I've seen on disc system games with the manual, is that the manuals will start to brown. But this is made out of some pretty strong paper. This is pretty substantial. You can see here, there's no real scratches or dents on it. If anybody's going to be doing damage to this game, it's going to be me. But what you'll often find when you're, say, in a Surugaya or you're in Super Potato is generally disc system games more often than not will come without a manual, and they'll just kind of come like this. But if you want the complete copy of the game, make sure you have these three pieces here. And then let's just take a quick look at the disc. I love the sort of little paper sheet. And then we've got there. Wow, look at that. That's real clean. That's really good. Then we've got the two sides to it, both the A and the B. So I'm going to be very excited to play this because I actually have not. That's one of the few Castlevania games that I haven't beaten yet is Simon's Quest. So that's the second of 4 boxes. We're going to make the other 2 box openings into a separate video. But I hope this has been instructional for you. If you're going to be purchasing from Surugaya, probably within the next 6 months, I would not be shocked if they keep up the free shipping. As you can see, they definitely hooked me because there's really no other way to get games this cheap out of Japan than through Surugaya, not only in terms of the free shipping, but just in terms of the prices as well. So I've been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra. I hope to see you in the next video where we open up even more games. See you next time. And mahalo.